I promise that I will talk to you about Exodus and Pesach in a minute, but I first want to take us back just a moment to our previous Chag, Purim. Since 2020, I've hosted an interfaith, international, multi-generational Megillah reading on Purim morning on Zoom, and friends and family sign up to read a chapter in Hebrew or in English and give whatever introduction they wish or none at all. My friend Gurlane read chapter 3, apparently for the first time. And the way she read verse 13 changed us all, and I will not do her voice justice, but I will read you the content of that verse from the Megillah. Accordingly, written instructions were dispatched by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, massacre, and exterminate all the Jews, young and old, children and women, on a single day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions. For the first time, I and several others cried at a Megillah reading, because Gurlane encountered this terrible instruction and could not help imagine what it meant to say the young and the old, the children and the women, all massacred on a single day. And our current holiday, as Rabbi Jesse just explained, asks us to do what we did at the Megillah reading, that we read the Haggadah, which was a piece I'll read from Mishnah Pesachim 10:5, as if it's happening to us right now. It says in our Haggadah from Mishnah Pesachim, in each and every generation, a person must view themselves as though they personally left Egypt, as it says in the Torah, and you will tell your child on that day, saying, it is because of this which the Lord did for me when I came forth out of Egypt, Exodus 13:8. Therefore, we are obligated to thank, praise, glorify, extol, exalt, honor, bless, revere, and laud the one who performed for our ancestors and for us all these miracles. God took us out of slavery to freedom, from sorrow to joy, from mourning to festival, from darkness to great light, and from enslavement to redemption. And we will say before God, hallelujah. The Seder is so excellent at bringing us with the best storytelling and techniques, taste, smell, memory. But I don't know about you, my eyes don't well up in ecstasy of freedom, and my body does not sigh with relief from being unburdened until this year. Have you or someone you've loved survived an ordeal, a car accident, a severe case of COVID, cancer, or some other unimaginable trauma? This year, our family did just that. We were released from an ordeal with an abusive family member that was not of our making, and a situation in which we had very little autonomy. We had a roof over our heads, we had food to eat, beds to sleep in. We had so much, but I did not feel free to make plans without worry, to hope for the kind of safety our family and especially our child deserved. I'm being vague because the details are distracting from the reality. The reality was that in many ways we were not free to live our lives with the autonomy and safety we deserved. Then, after nearly 5 years in the state of turmoil, we were released on October 31st, 2022. On that day, when the news first hit, so did all the feelings: exhaustion, exhilaration, disbelief, tears. Slews of calls came in to celebrate and rehash the story. And I realized, as I turned to Simon, my husband, I said, it's going to be Exodus every day from now on. I also remember saying, I need to get out of this apartment. It is too small for all my feelings right now. And we went outside and we silenced our phones and we walked in disbelief in Prospect Park. And we listed all the people we should thank and all the people to tell and all the things that we would get to do now. All the things, including our child, we would not have to be subject to anymore. The time that would be ours, the plans, the finances, the safety. This is what defines freedom. Exodus, every day. It didn't take very long for me to encounter a hard day. But how could it be hard? I was free. I found myself getting cranky and sad. And I thought of the Israelites, newly freed from their bondage, encountering miracles just for them, left and right, but they complain and they mess up all the time. Exodus every day isn't quite the fairy tale we expect. There's a space between the trauma of enslavement and the relief of freedom. That place is called wilderness. I will tell you that being released from the terrifying space that had been ours for 5 years was wild, and the anger and the sadness that washed over me was also wilderness. And the compassion I had grew and grew for the cranky, messy, ungrateful Israelites in the desert. For the first time, I questioned the wisdom of Yitro, spoiler, that's further in the story, who tells Moshe that Moshe's killing himself and the people by answering their questions one by one by one. But Yitro is used to leading free people. The Israelites were people who had not been treated as people. They needed to be seen. They needed to feel the wilderness between what they were and what they could be. They kept getting called out or killed for their misbehavior. But I feel for them. I feel the confusion of Exodus every day that doesn't feel sublime. The personal promised land that you prayed for is coming, but it's hot. There's a lot of sun, and there's an indeterminate number of steps, and it's totally unclear. This is not the recipe for trauma survivors. You need a schedule. You need things to expect and rely on. You need someone who, no matter what, says, I know, I'm here. The newly unshackled Israelites must have been so happy to birth a generation that did not know Egypt. No wonder God has to command us that we have to tell the story and we have to make participants feel and taste the bondage. Who wants to tell those who never tasted bondage what it tastes like? So I speak to you from my wilderness, which is not the space we generally evoke on Pesach. We focus on freedom. But freedom did not happen, I would say, when God took the Jews out of Egypt, nor when they crossed the Red Sea, which we just read. I believe that freedom happened when each Israelite believed that they had the power to choose and the power to feel their fear but not be ruled by it. So I ask you, when you're asked to see yourself in the Pesach story, what space in your life feels like Exodus? What space feels like wilderness? What space feels like freedom? And as you keep these frames in mind, I invite you to celebrate Exodus every day, those moments where you suddenly realize you are free, you can choose, and you could have been held back, but you aren't anymore. Hold on to that gratitude and whatever other wild feelings come up with it. I also, finally, invite you to recognize that these feelings are different. Exodus, freedom. In separating the two, I believe we gain a better chance of truly living in the wilderness, which is the best path to truly being free. Chag Sameach.
Sameach.